Hello everyone out there in internet TV video land. So this is a next installment of Zenergy videos. This is a presentation that I'm going to talk off of that we gave to Paul Dickerson, who is the former Chief Operating Officer of the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy for the U.S. Department of Energy. If it is being thought about by the federal government in the realm of alternative energy, Paul Dickerson was the man who was in charge of all that. Very interesting guy, knows a lot, and is for hire right now. I want to talk a little bit first off about biomass, biomass in general. There's a lot of talk about biofuels and bioenergy, and what I really want to articulate in this presentation is that there are all sorts of technologies which are super well known. There's all sorts of efficiencies within those technologies which are being looked at and studied at, but absolutely none of that makes one bit of difference unless we start creating a market to grow biomass that is energy indexed. And we expand the growth of commercial, we expand commercial farming to create enough biomass to really make any sort of impact. And the way I'm going to articulate this is looking at the soybean market. So this graphic here is U.S. soybean as a diesel replacement. So let's look at what the U.S. market for diesel is. The U.S. diesel market consumes somewhere between 65 to 75 billion gallons of fuel per year. And then let's take a look at soybean oil, U.S. soybean oil. U.S. is one of the largest soybean oil producers in the world. And if we took all of the soybean oil we make and we use that to make diesel, biodiesel, we could replace 6%, just 6%, that green 6% you see right here. This is what we could replace of our current crude oil diesel consumption. So soybean oil doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. And then if you really look at it, I couldn't get this this red any smaller, but really only 10 to 15% at a minimum, and that's really not happening anymore because people are growing corn more than soybean now. But only 10 to 15% of this 6% is actually being used to make biodiesel today. So then you get into asking questions about, well, how are we going to create all this biomass? Well, there's a number of plants that are being considered. Really, from a national U.S. perspective, the place we should put money as far as research and development, which the U.S. government has done already, but it's the commercialization of algae. That's really the only national option we really have to switch to a biofuel-based business. Other than that, we are talking about outside the United States. Now, let me make some caveats about that national. One other thing, we do have a program in the United States. The federal government pays people to not farm their land. It's under the Conservation Act. And so we pay, it's a very nice handout if you're a farmer. Because you can get, if you're a savvy farmer, if you're a savvy business person, you happen to be a farmer, you can actually get a very nice check written to you from the government to not use that land. But it's not a money-making venture, I don't believe. It's more of a kind of an offset to an existing business. But in any case, if we were to take and stop that program, stop paying people, and stop kind of and up our conservation a little bit, or utilization versus conservation a little bit, we could double our current ethanol output with corn. But I'll use corn and soybean as a very good example of the issues with biomass. Corn and soybean fundamentally are food crops, and they have the ability to increase their yield and output. Actually, corn and soybean are extremely highly engineered crops as they are. Their yields are pumped up by genetic seed modification and fertilizers and water and all those sort of things. So if these were naturally organically occurring plants, they wouldn't have anywhere near the sort of output that they do today. But it's pretty astonishing what we've done in that realm. But we're not to a point where we have anything being grown commercially on the planet Earth, really, that's not grown for either some sort of human or cattle or animal-based intake. Most of it is for that. There's a little bit of surplus on top of those, but not much. So anything to do with bioenergy, if it's not directly related to the expansion of commercial farming for biomass, or the research of putting algae out there and hooking algae as a CO2 scrubber up onto coal-fired power plants and oil and gas refineries and those sort of things, really biomass is kind of a moot point because it's never really going to make much of an impact anyway. So biomass is the key when it comes to bioenergy, and if you're talking about anything else except the expansion of biomass, pretty much you're blowing hot air. It's not really going to happen. You know, oil and gas companies are giving, you know, $5 million here, $10 million there to look at biomass and answer some of these questions, but anything that's not directly related to the growing of biomass, first off, has already been figured out 15 times over, and the efficiencies questions that people are addressing around biomass really don't have anything to do with reality, because the efficiencies are not going to solve the fundamental problem, which is there's not enough biomass. So if you're interested in bioenergy, the thing to get interested in is being a farmer and how do you expand and create commercial, large-scale growing of commercial biomass. That's why we created Zenergy Plantations. If you want to help us in that pursuit, you can go to zenergyplantations.com and you can actually contribute. You can plant a tree with us. Our first plantation that we're working on will have 68 million trees by the time it's all said and done. So we'd love your help in growing and planting a few of those. That's the latest presentation. This is Zenergy Biofuel. We'll get into more. There's lots of things there. I scrolled through all of it so you can see it. And we look forward to having you back next time. Thank you much.